Alright, this is the rules video for the Australian Grip Sport Championship 2026. I'll split this into two videos. If you've been to a previous Australian Nationals or any GSI event in Australia, probably skip over this, have a look at the Eventbrite page for the jumps that we'll be taking. That's the only difference from last year. I'll do a separate video about blobs and inch-run, which is new to this year. But if you've never done a GSI grip comp, I'll go through some basic rules. If there's anything that I don't cover, feel free to shout out, and you can ask me on the day or beforehand. So we'll just jump into it with some demonstrations. First event is the Napalm 2 3/8 handles. There's not heaps that you can do wrong in terms of lifting this. The lift is to 6 inches, so there'll be a crossbar similar to this on the day. The pin height might change, so this one's a 15-inch pin. If you're training and you've got a smaller pin, we might be using one of those on the day, so just be sort of prepared to lift on any pin. If it's easier for you to stand on blocks or plates, we'll have those available on the day. So maybe in your warm-up, just see what's the more comfortable range for you, depending on the pin height. Alright, so lifting to 6 inches, and then we're putting it down in a controlled manner, so that's a good lift. I'll demonstrate what a bad lift is in terms of dropping it with a different implement later, so I don't blow this one apart. So specifics, handles roll, you can't have your fingers here or anything weird like that. You can't lift it like this, sort of in the under, has to be overhand. Chalk, you can use chalk blocks or powdered chalk, but you can't use liquid chalk, so you can bring your own, or there'll be chalk on the day. So that's the first implement. I'll go through what sort of the jumps mean as well. So for the first implement, for the men's, it'll be 10 kilo jumps. You can have one 5 kilo increment jump. So what it will look like is the starting weight will be 70 kilos. You don't have to do every jump, but you can't go back down. So let's say this is 70 kilos. If I successfully lift it, the next jump will be 80 kilos. I can choose to take that or not. There's no limit on how many you can take, but obviously you want to save some energy because it's going to be a big day of lifting. Now, if the 70 kilos is near my max, I can choose to take my 5 kilo increment. So I'll just let whoever's doing the plate loading or the record keeping, or let me know. I'll say, look, I want to take my jump. It'll probably be something like, all right, 80 kilos. Everyone fine with that? Someone might say, actually, I want to do 75 kilos. So we would do 75 kilos. Now, you can only use that increment jump once. So I've easily done 75. So the next one will be 80 kilos. So let's say I'm the only one who does that increment. And we move on to 80 kilos, which would be another 5. I do my 80. And then I think, well, that's pretty hard. I'd love to do 85. Too bad you've already used your 5 kilo jump. The next jump would be 90 to 90 kilos. Now, if someone else uses their 5 kilo increment jump, doesn't mean that you can jump in. Once you've used it, you've used it. And we'll keep track of that, but you also need to keep track of that yourself. Now it'll just be it's rising bar, so it means let's say there's 20 men competing. It'll be there'll be a list on the day. Try to learn who you are before, and we'll just run through and say, blah blah blah. You're up next. You can say skip or you take it. Now let's say I've skipped. I'm super confident. I've skipped a whole bunch. Let's put another 10 on it. Now if I fail to lift that, I can't then go back down just because I've skipped. So if I do 70, I skip 80, I fail 90, I can't go back down to 80. So just make sure you don't don't take massive jumps, especially if it's the first time doing the event. If you think you can't hit the opening weight, let me know on the day. We'll have some warm-up weights so you can see if actually I don't think I can hit that opening weight. We'll start lower because I want everyone to at least get a score on the board, so don't let that put you off. Women's, similar, except the opening weight will be 45 kilos, and it will be 5 kilo jumps as standard, and you can have 1 2.5 kilo jump. We'll run separate platforms for the men and the women, we'll be able to manage that on the day. That's pretty much it. If you get to a small number of people and it's going pretty quick because everyone knows their order, and you find that, look, I just lifted, you can have 3 minutes following yourself basically. You need to keep a record of that yourself. So if you want to say, like, look, I just went, you need to be watching the time so that you're not going back to back to back. One way to limit that is also to take bigger jumps so that you're not doing every single increment all the way up to your max. Cool. All right. The second implement is the Napalm 3 by 4 inch handles. There we are. So again, it's not too many ways you can mess this one up. Obviously we're not doing it the hard way, which is sort of the wider. We're doing it skinny way. If your hands are very large, you're not allowed to wrap your fingers over like this. So even though this is the right way, you can't have your fingers over. Your fingers have to be like this. So all it is, again, is lifting it to the crossbar. Now, it doesn't matter if the crossbar falls or anything like that. It's just, we just need to see that it's got to that height. Same kind of jumps as before, except everyone will be 5 kilo jumps and 1 2.5 kilo increment. So for each implement, you get your 1 jump if you want. Again, you don't have to take it at all. You could just completely ignore that. For let's have a look. So this will be 20 kilo start for women and 40 kilo start for men. Now when I say 20, 40 and 70, 45, etc., it's not going to be exact on that. It's going to be whatever the weight plus the implement, carabiner, pin, bar thing is. So it might be, we might be at 46 kilos and then 51 kilos and 56 kilos. So if whatever in training you're hitting it exact on, you're calibrating it to be in the 5 kilos, we're not going to be doing that. We're just going to weigh it on the day and go from what it actually is to make it quicker. Okay, then after this we're having the inch run and the blob medley. I'll put that in a separate video so that people who don't need to watch this can watch that one. After that we'll be doing the vertical cannon. So vertical cannon, it's just like this. You can't have your fingers over this part. You know, you can't lift it like this. Your hand can be, you know, above it, but not below it. If in doubt, just ask on the day. You are allowed to sort of twist it, so it doesn't have to be straight vertical. It can be, some people prefer to like twist it. Does make it a bit harder with the crossbar, but if you also, something to demonstrate, if you happen to somehow do a weird wacky lift like this, if we can see that it is over the 6 inches, it will still be a successful lift. Obviously we'll try to avoid that, but yeah, the rule isn't about hitting the crossbar, it's about making sure it's evident that you've lifted to the required height. This one I'll demonstrate what a bad lift looks like in terms of the controlled descent. So I didn't do it on the other implements because it can sort of make the collars slip out and things like that. So if you were to lift it to the height and then you dropped it like this, that wasn't a controlled descent, so I've dropped it out of my hand. Another bad lift would be if you have sort of the implement on your body. So if you're trying to, like, you know, I've used my leg to assist. It needs to be just your hand away from your body. Again, if you think, oh look, I'm doing it this way, is this fine? Just ask and we'll let you know if it's a good lift or not. It's not an exhaustive list of things you can't do. So if I haven't mentioned it, or if it's not on the Eventbrite page and you think, oh, he hasn't mentioned I can't do it this way, so I'll get away with it. That's not how GSI works. It's if it's not sort of to the spirit of the lift, we'll just say no lift. Yeah, so that's pretty much it. In terms of other sort of details on the day, weigh-in, etc., I'll have more information on the Eventbrite page or in the FAQ. Anything I haven't covered, let me know and I can put it in the FAQ. Cool, that's it. I'll see you end of June.